Hey there, rednecks, preppies, redneck preppies. It's me, the Redneck Preppy. How you doing today? Great? Good. Just a friendly reminder that the Redneck Preppy can also be found on Rumble and Odyssey. Links to both platforms are in the description below. Another entry in the vintage 22 long rifle ammo tests already? Can you tell I had no ideas for videos this week? Today we're going to take a look at some homegrown ammunition, IVI Dominion Target from the 1980s. Dominion, of course, a legendary name in Canadian ammunition circles, and IVI, which stood for Industries Valkatsye Incorporated, is a company that sorta, kinda still exists as a part of General Dynamics. I've heard different thoughts as to the accuracy of IVI Dominion Target, so I have no real expectations. Hopefully it shoots well, but it's 4-decade-old ammunition, so we'll take what we can get. Let's take a look at the box and its contents. A box that has seen better days. The previous owner clearly bought this to shoot, rightfully so, rather than try and preserve this as a museum piece. So in lieu of exploring the outside of the box, here's a picture of what it would have looked like when you bought it at your local Canadian Tire back in 1983. That out of the way, let's examine the contents. And yes, we are not dealing with a full box either. We've only got 41 rounds to play with. Obvious information is obvious. We've got brass case 22 long rifle. I detect no to very minimal lubrication on these bullets. They're drier than a Bob Newhart comedy routine. Hey, early 80s ammunition, early 80s cultural reference. What do you want? We have a picture up of our head stamp right now. No surprise, given that it's Dominion branded ammunition, that it would have the D head stamp. That's about all that I can actually tell you. There is no information online about this ammunition, and I mean no information. About the only thing that my research dug up was that this IVI Dominion may be the same thing as IVI Imperial, of which here is a box. Now, as you can see by this comparison picture, they were both manufactured by IVI, and the packaging is pretty darned similar. Were they the same? Well, I don't know. That's speculation, since I don't have any Imperial to test against. Could just be similar packaging because the same company made both. If you've watched previous episodes in this growing series of vintage rimfire ammo tests, you probably know how this is going to work, so I'm going to keep it brief. We're going to shoot this stuff at 50 yards and chronograph all the shots so that we have velocity and consistency data. And we're going to stick to 50 yards today because I don't even have a full box of ammunition, so every round is precious. I'll shoot 11 sighters to warm up and season the barrel, and then afterwards we're going to shoot the remaining rounds in 5-shot groups. Afterwards, we'll look at all the data. Let's get to it. Weather conditions for the day were pretty good for shooting. The temperature was a balmy 3 degrees Celsius or 37 degrees Fahrenheit. The humidity was 69%, and the wind was officially 5 kilometers an hour from the south-southeast. I can say that my wind flag barely moved most of the time. With the first shot, I knew immediately that something was different with the IVI Dominion. I heard a supersonic crack, and my chronograph registered that shot at 1,259.3 feet per second, which is a new record for the fastest bullet out of my CZ457. And they didn't really slow down from there, with a majority of the shots registering over 1,200 feet per second, and every single one of them supersonic. The chronograph didn't put up particularly impressive numbers. The average velocity of these IVI Dominion rounds was a speedy 1,212.1 feet per second. The standard deviation was a very subpar 18.1, and the extreme spread was a quite poor 77.3 feet per second. But as I am fond of saying, the only numbers that truly count are the ones measured on paper. And a second record was set today, the worst ever groups produced in these vintage rimfire ammunition tests, and the second worst ever produced out of this rifle. As you can see from this unimpressive target, the ammunition started off poorly, but it did manage to improve itself into mediocrity. They did, the groups that is, on the whole, gradually shrink, but they never really achieved much else. In the last three groups, it was an outlier which tended to ruin what could have been a decent group. Now you can see my reaction to 4 good shots, followed up with one that decided to go its own way. The average group size was 0.901 inches across 6 groups of 5 shots for a combined MOA of 1.721. So how did rimfire ammunition, dating to the end of the Trudeau government, Pierre in this case, fare today? Well, much like the policies of the first Trudeau, and the second Trudeau, this ammunition promised much and had delivered very little good. As I stated in the results section, this ammo was some of the worst I've ever shot out of my rifle. It only surpassed that trash 1960s Soviet ammo I tested a few months back, because this stuff actually chambered. Now, I know that this is 4 decades old, and as I've stated in the past, rimfire ammunition is sensitive to storage situations. And I haven't the foggiest idea how this was stored over the past decades, so I'm not going to be too hard on it. But that said, IVI and Dominion are hallowed names in old school Canadian gun circles. So I had hoped it would at least be decent. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Now, I'm going to say this as a mild defense of this IVI Dominion. The fact that the groups began to tighten up may have been an indication that my barrel needed a few more shots with it to be fully seasoned, and that perhaps the tighter groups near the end were a truer indication of what this ammunition was actually capable of. That said, I didn't have enough ammunition to carry on and see what could have been. So if you come across this, should you pick some of it up? If you can get it stupid cheap, and I mean stupid cheap, and want to hit pop cans at 50 yards, I guess. Outside of that, I can't really think of any reason to part with your money on ammunition when you could buy bulk rimfire and get better results. So if perhaps you're a collector, maybe, even then, meh. At any rate, I hope you found today's video at least be vaguely entertaining and mildly informative. As always, I hope you have a fantastic day. Take care, and bye-bye.